Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth, and I am joined by my excellent crew, Mel Farr Jr. Welcome back, Mel.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. Rick Curti, welcome back.
Thank you, Scott.
Greg Fuchs.
Good to see you guys again after a big Dolphin win.
Yes, and David Hodges.
How you doing, guys? Good to be here.
All right, before we get into the itinerary here, just to give you an overview, we'll be talking some pro football and an awful lot of college football as well. I know the movers are going to be busy with some of the e-league coaches out there. Now we're going to address each and every one of those situations. But before we do that, we're going to do our customary beginning with Greg Fuchs giving us a Miami Dolphins recap. And before I preface Greg to take over, okay, I know that Rick Curti's going to have an I told you so, but Molly Karam Rose, okay, had some nice choice words for Cam Newton on First Take when she says, from being back to being back to bench. So back to bench. All right. With that said, great. Take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Well, it only took 12 weeks, but the Dolphins finally put together a complete performance. I mean, they just dominated the Panthers on Sunday, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, 3 interceptions, 5 quarterback sacks. The defensive line knocked down 4 passes at the line of scrimmage, held Carolina to 198 yards, and 64 of those yards was one pass early in the first quarter. So basically after that pass, the Panthers did nothing on offense. So big kudos to the Dolphins defense, which has definitely ratcheted up a notch the last month or so. Offensive side of the ball, pretty good too for the second week in a row, over 80% completion percentage. And even though they didn't run the ball great, I think they only averaged 2.8 yards a carry, but they kept on running. 39 rushing attempts, over 100 yards rushing, and that allowed them to control the clock. I mean, in the second half, the Dolphins only had 3 possessions, touchdown, 2 field goals, but those 3 possessions took 19 and a half minutes off the clock. So if the Panthers, they had enough trouble scoring anyway against the Dolphins defense, but it's awful tough to score when you don't have the football. What else is there? Yeah, we were talking about Newton before we started. He was just god awful. I mean, 5 of 21, 92 yards, 2 interceptions, only 5 yards rushing. And he just looked terrible. It was like close his eyes and threw the ball. I mean, he just some terrible passes by Cam. And to round out the complete performance by the Dolphins, their special teams. First touchdown was a blocked punt for a touchdown. Jason Sanders, all 7 of his kickoffs were touchbacks. And Matt Pilardi, he punted 4 times. Every single time he pinned the Panthers inside their 20-yard line. So total domination by the Panthers. I'm going to enjoy it for the 1 week because even though they've won 4 in a row, I'm not totally sold on the Dolphins, but we'll see. As we were mentioning, if it's bad enough the Panthers look bad, but when you lose your best player for the rest of the season in McCaffrey, that is just a killer. He will only have played 10 games total over the last 2 seasons. And that's just a killer when your best player misses that much. And a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that Dolphins GM Chris Greer was on the hot seat. His seat is probably still a little warm, but he has to feel a heck of a lot better after Sunday's game because Tua's strung together a few good performances now. And then on Sunday, Jalen Waddle, 9 receptions, 137 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Phillips had 3 sacks. And Javon Holland, a second-round pick this year, he is looking fantastic, and he had his 2nd interception of the year. So all good things for the Dolphins, not a whole lot of mistakes. And the Giants are up this coming week, who may be starting Mike Glennon at quarterback from what I read like an hour ago. So.
All right, well, Miami Dolphins did defeat Carolina Panthers 33-10. Stephen Ross, a University of Michigan graduate in 1962, had to be smiling pretty good. The Fish have a 4-game winning streak. With that said, Rick Curti, we know that you had some choice words for Cam Newton. You have for a long time. Sure, everybody on this panel does, but go ahead, Rick. Go ahead and give us your feelings about Cam Newton. I doubt you'll be getting a Christmas card with it. You have to say anyways, but go ahead.
No, I haven't been getting a Christmas card from the Panthers for a while. I've just been very critical about them. I mean, I'm just telling the truth. People expect me that I live in Charlotte. I'm going to be biased, and I'm not. I want the Panthers to succeed, and they're just going completely backwards. They're dysfunctional. They don't know what's going on. Rule, I don't know how long he's gonna last. You know, they probably give him another. You'll be back next season after that. If he doesn't do anything, I think he's gone. You know, Brady was this hot coaching commodity, and heard rumors of him going to LSU, and don't hear about his name much anymore. Bringing Cam was a mistake. I told people that they're going backwards. There's a reason why a lot of teams didn't want him. You know, pay him $10 million for not even a season. And, you know, people were just so excited. I wasn't, because to me, he's a has-been, you know, and it's been a while like that, you know, ever since he stormed off when they lost that Super Bowl and he stormed off, he hasn't been the same, you know, and he was just awful that game. I mean, just completely awful. And, you know, I wish I was wrong about this, but I just saw it coming a mile away. And, you know, he's just a washed up quarterback. There's a reason nobody wanted him. The Patriots, I mean, when a rookie quarterback has to teach a veteran quarterback the playbook, like they did when he was with the Patriots, you know, that's bad, you know. And I mean, he just needs to retire. It's just time to move on. I don't know what the Panthers are doing. They're just completely going backwards. They look like they don't know what's going on. This is like what they're still paying Teddy Bridgewater's salary. Darnold's salary is being paid. Now Cam Newton, you got 3 quarterbacks. You're probably going to have 4 now with PJ Walker. So it's a complete mess right now in Carolina, in Charlotte. People are frustrated. People are upset. And of course, McCaffrey, you pay him all that money. And, you know, like I said before, he played 10 games in 2 seasons, and he's just made out of glass. He just cannot stay healthy. So it's a complete mess with the Panthers, and hopefully Tepper with all his money could change it around. But right now it looks really, really bad.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, I agree with Rick. It's, you know, Cam coming back, people thinking, well, you know, maybe he's the Cam of old. You know, he needed to come back home where, you know, knows the city, obviously, or, you know, knows the team, but, you know, it's a completely different team. Ron Rivera's not at the helm anymore. And yeah, you know, to get benched, as, you know, we talked about after throwing, I believe it was 2 interceptions in the first half. And yeah, it's just, yeah, a lot of people said it was just more to sell tickets. I'm sure, you know, obviously ticket sales have spiked a little bit, of course, when they're home, but yeah, Cam, he's lost his mojo. It's not there anymore. It's not been there for a while. I have not followed the Panthers a whole lot over the past couple of seasons, and yeah, I mean, you know, of course, I'll keep up with the scores and, you know, some team news here and there, but, you know, really with, you know, a lot of the games, it's hard to watch now, and you know, yeah, I kind of agree with what Rick said. It's just, you know, the team's going backwards, and Rule again. I'm surprised they brought in a college coach. But, you know, I said, you know, hey, they thought he was the best man for the job. I don't see him lasting, you know, more than one more season, also, as Rick just stated. But yeah, don't want to call it a complete, you know, dumpster fire, but, you know, it just is really more of, you know, it's a dumpster, just the match has not been lit. So, you know, hopefully, you know, there may be some brighter days ahead, but, you know, with this crew they have now, I just don't see it. You know, yeah, they have Cam for the rest of the season, but I don't see him coming back after this one. He'll probably be gone again in the off season. So, you know, anyone that is a Panthers fan, yeah, there's got to be frustration, and I just think it's going to continue.
Right, Mel, obviously you haven't been drinking the Cam Kool-Aid either, have you?
No, not really. You know, I was hopeful for him. You know, maybe that he can have a resurgence similar to what Randall Cunningham when he left the Eagles and sat out for a couple of years, and then you know, had an All-Pro year, if I'm not mistaken, led the league in passing, if I'm not mistaken, a year when he came back with the Vikings. And you know, the thing about Cam that you know, and a buddy of mine lives up there in Charlotte. We go back and forth all the time. I mean, he loves Cam, and I'm just honest about what I see and evaluate him. I just don't see Cam working at it. You know, a lot of guys, you know, he's been out of football since the end of training camp. I guarantee you that he's been smoking more cigars than he has thrown passes. I can guarantee you that he has spent very little time. And then, you know, it's not like he's coming back to the same Carolina Panthers that he left. It's a new regime, new offense. So it's an entirely different language than what he's accustomed to. He just had to learn the New England language, the New England verbiage on short notice when he got signed up there. Didn't have training, didn't have the off season mini camps and a little bit of training camp, and then he comes here mid season, and Cam, from what I can see, is not really one to really put in the extra time to study, to really understand and learn the nuances of the offense. Relies a lot on his physical talents, which he has an abundance of, but as he's getting older, his physical talents are starting to diminish, and that's when you have to rely on the mental aspect of it. That's why Tom Brady's able to play has been able to play and play at a high level for the length of time that he's been playing. So I'm disappointed, as a fan, I'm disappointed. I really wanted to see him grab this opportunity by the horns and take off with it. But, we're just seeing, basically to me, the same old Cam that we saw before when he was in Carolina.
Yeah, I definitely think if he can't get things straightened out pretty quick, then his audition failed. And if I were him, I'd be looking for employment outside of pro football. Who knows? We have the United States Football League coming up pretty soon or wherever. But, I think if he can't make it in Carolina for the rest of this year, show a little bit more, then I think we've seen the last of Cam Newton in the NFL. So we really have a busy agenda. Why am I wearing the maize and blue colors? Well, I'll tell you why. The Michigan Wolverines defeated Ohio State 42-27. Jim Harbaugh shut up his critics too. I'd like to mention are Tim Tebow and Paul Feinbaum, who was waving a white towel on Get Up the other day with Mike Greenberg. And when you have Hassan Haskins scoring 5 touchdowns and Aiden Hutchinson recording 3 sacks and setting a program record for 13, that's a recipe for disaster. And CJ Stroud was definitely not comfortable in the pocket. And I think the Wolverines could have won by a little bit more if Cade McNamara hadn't thrown that interception when the Wolverines had Ohio State on their heels. Nevertheless, I'm happy to be wearing the maize and blue. I predicted that they would on this show, and so did Bob Stoops on Fox, who also predicted they would win. And you know what? They earned their win, and they look very dominant doing it. So, Mel, what are your thoughts about what took place in Ann Arbor?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to see it. I was working. I had it on, but I didn't get a chance to see much of the game. But obviously, I was keeping up with the score. I thought this was the best year that Jim Harbaugh had to win this game. I think I talked about it on the show last week that I felt that they would win because he's gone back to kind of his roots, the same things that he did at Stanford, which was the power game. And I think they that's what he did. And they controlled and dominated the line of scrimmage. Obviously, when you rush for the amount of yards that they rush for, then you're also controlling the clock, and then you're getting after them on the defensive side of the ball as well. I was a little nervous, I'll be honest with you, after what they did to Michigan State, but we know Michigan State's defensive backfield was a liability. I wasn't sure because I hadn't seen a whole lot of Michigan football, but I saw a little bit of it. And particularly paid attention to the offensive side, didn't really pay much attention to the defensive side of the ball, but the people that, they were playing good football. And I thought that this was Harbaugh's best opportunity. And I thought he'd get that monkey off his back. And he did. Now, if there's a team that I hate worse than Michigan, it's Ohio State. Now, I'm a Jim Harbaugh fan, I'm not a Michigan fan, but definitely not an Ohio State fan. So I was definitely pulling for the maize and blue, and they came away with a huge victory.
Well, all I'll say about Tim Tebow is, number one, okay, he's a bust in the National Football League. Okay, had an opportunity to play quarterback at Jacksonville, didn't do it. Okay, decided to drink the Kool-Aid with Rex Ryan with the Jets. And obviously, I think his baseball comeback was a joke. So for him to become totally critical of Michigan, unless he hates the Wolverines and Harbaugh personally, I can really care about what Tim Tebow has to say. And he lost to Michigan in a bowl game. So whether he likes the Wolverines or not, Tim Tebow, to me, failed as a quarterback in the NFL, had opportunities. His recent time over in Jacksonville, we know it was short-lived. So I'm glad that I'm waiting to see what Tim Tebow has to say later in the week, and knowing that he's going to eat crow, and maybe he'll give credit still with the Wolverines. Now, as for Paul Feinbaum, well, okay, you know what? He gets paid to light a fire and stir up conversations, but I have to give the guy credit. Okay, when on Monday He did own it. And you know what? I'll never get on him again. He proved he can beat him. And not only did he prove he can beat Ohio State, he looked good doing it. So, Ryan Day inherited a good program from Urban Meyer and was able to take advantage of it. And I think the Wolverines found the recipe to beat Ohio State. You're not going to beat them in a shootout. You just have to hammer them, like you said, Mel, run it down their throat and pressure the quarterback. And if you can make life miserable for them, as the Wolverines did do, that's fine. And I don't like the comments that the Buckeyes are making. Oh, we're going to put 100 points on you. Give me a break. Okay. That to me is baloney, even though we don't see it happening. And I'm just glad Ohio State ate humble pie. Okay, Rick, take it away.
Well, I wish I could go on here and say I knew Michigan to win, but I predicted Ohio State. I think I predicted them to win by 17 points. So I wave the white flag as well, because I'm happy for Jim Harbaugh. I am a Jim Harbaugh fan, and I was always like, it's too bad it's not working out for him in Michigan. And, when he got re-signed to an extension, people were like scratching their heads, including me. But, I'm really happy for him right now. There's no excuse for Ohio State. They just got beaten badly. I really do believe that the fans were really involved in this. It was super loud in there. I believe that stadium is like the second largest stadium like in the world right now. It seats well over 100,000 people. They were loud, and they totally just threw Ohio State off their game. I mean, the snow, yeah, but it snows in Ohio too. So to me, it was the crowd noise that had a lot to do with it. They couldn't stop their offense, and every time Ohio State scored, Michigan came right back and scored right again. And that was really, to me, the big difference maker right there. So I'm really happy for Jim Harbaugh. Michigan right now is number 2 right now in the playoffs. Well deserved. And it's kind of neat to see a playoffs without Ohio State and Clemson in it. To be quite honest, nice to see a Cincinnati in there. And, we already know Alabama always be in there. And Georgia's been playing great. I didn't think Georgia was as great as they were going to be. And it's just, this is a great playoffs. I'm happy for Harbaugh. And, I think this was the start of now he's got that monkey off his back. It's going to be a start of a good rivalry with Ohio State. And it was something he really, really, really needed.
Yeah, I mean, 111,000 in there. That's pretty good. Greg, I know you're not really as close to the rivalry as we are back in the Midwest, but I think you're familiar with it enough to know it's one of the biggest college football rivalries out there. So what are your thoughts?
I also thought Ohio State would win. I always prefer teams that can throw the ball. I didn't see a lot of the game, but every time I turned it on, Michigan was rushing for another first down. Ohio State just couldn't stop them. It reminded me of old-time Big Ten football when it was Schembechler versus Woody Hayes, where you're lucky if he had 20 passes combined in the game.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yeah. Michigan just ran him into the ground, literally. And it's, I'm not a huge Harbaugh fan, but I always felt bad for him. What he lost, like 7 in a row to Ohio State. So it's nice to get him off the schneid there.
Yeah. All right, David.
Yeah, I too was, the one that I picked Ohio State in this game. They were just kind of running roughshod almost over everybody this season. And yeah, I'm always a sucker for a good rivalry game, no matter, whether it be, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington State. Of course, my UW Huskies lost that, the Boeing Apple Cup. But yeah, it's, when storied rivalries like that are, when they're competitive, it's good for the game. It really is. And, I too, I'm happy for Harbaugh. He, like I said, everybody's been saying he's finally, got that monkey off his back. And, this could be the start of something great here. And, when rivalries are, the biggest rivalries in the game, whether it again be, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Southern California, and say like Texas, Oklahoma, when those games are just absolute barn burners, it's good for the sport, good for the fans, and hopefully this is the start of something, a resurgence, of this rivalry. It probably never will harken back to to the days of Schembechler and Hayes, or the aura that those games brought forth, but it's definitely good for the game, and props to Michigan. They earned it, and I would say just gonna have to see, just kind of lick their wounds, pick up the pieces, and go from here.
Yeah, one little footnote before we go on to the next topic. Harbaugh got a $500,000 bonus, and he donated that money to a lot of the athletic department that had to take pay cuts as well. To me, right now, Harbaugh, it's not about money anymore. He's made enough of it anyway. So, like I said, there isn't a person on the planet that's not happy for him. And I think he's entitled another $1 million bonus if they win the Big Ten championship game. We'll find that out. We'll definitely be addressing it somewhere down the road. So on last week's show, we talked about UCLA winning 62-33 over USC. This week, the Trojans lost to BYU at home 35-31. Well, welcome, Lincoln Riley. You just inherited a 4-7 team. And of course, I think they play California to finish it off. But Lincoln Riley brings 55-10 record to the situation at Oklahoma since 2017. So a little footnote that I want to mention, and I'll let you guys take it away, is I don't think that Lincoln Riley's move to USC had anything to do with the Sooners moving to the SEC, because he would be facing the best competition. I think the opportunity to move to the West Coast, the warm climate, loaded with fertile recruiting ground, to me, was the reason he took the West Coast plunge. Well, there's no better person to send this out to right now than you, Mel. Obviously, you played with the Bruins, and you know the LA area real well as Trojan land. What are your thoughts about the move of Lincoln Riley headed to Southern California?
I think those things that you mentioned obviously have a lot to do with it, but I think the kind of money that they threw at him had a lot to do with it too. How can you turn that down? I mean, there's some reports it's 110 million. They're buying his 2 homes in Norman for $500,000 over asking price. They're supposedly buying him a $6 million home out there in Los Angeles. He gets 24 access, him and his family, 24/7 access to a private jet. How can you say that? I mean, how can you say no to that? Plus, like he said at the conference, at the news conference, I mean, it's 75 degrees out there, and this is, almost December. And a lot of the players that he got, even the player that decommitted from Oklahoma and actually committed to USC today, who's the number 2 quarterback, I believe, in the 2023 class, he's from California. And there's a lot of guys, the California schools have not been doing a good job of keeping the California players. The Alabama quarterback's from California. The Ohio State quarterback is from California. There's a lot of guys that have been getting out of the state of California. I mean, we got a running back at UCLA that was at Michigan that came back from California, but California is fertile recruiting ground. Now with USC getting Lincoln Riley, a guy that can recruit, has all the resources available to him, is, the administration is in lockstep with him and what he needs to do to attract the type of athletes that he needs to have in order to win. It's going to be tough on the Pac-10, or the Pac-12 rather, I'm sorry. It's going to be difficult. And Lincoln Riley, we know what he can do as far as, coaching X's and O's is concerned on the offensive side of the ball. He's one of the brightest offensive coordinators that we have out there in the game today. So obviously, as a UCLA fan, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. I mean, that was a shot heard around the world. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I don't think Lincoln Riley saw it coming. But when they backed the Brinks truck up to the house, I mean, how can you just tell them to go away? That's a hard thing to do.
Well, the guy's 38 years old, for crying out loud. If he does a lot of the things that everybody thinks he's going to do, he'll have a statue out in Southern California, right outside the Coliseum. Another footnote I should mention, though, that Oklahoma's Bob Stoops is an interim coach, and he'll be coaching in the bowl game, but they won't have a problem landing a successor by any means. Oklahoma's a great job. And I got to give Lincoln Riley credit. He denied he would go into the LSU job, but he didn't say nothing about going to USC. So it's not like he went ahead and pulled a Nick Saban. I'm not going here. No, he just said no LSU. He didn't say the other 3-digit USC. So with that said, Rick, you're another California kid. How impactful is this for Lincoln Riley to be going to Southern California?
Well, I think it's great for California. I mean, they needed a big name. I said on the show they can't be getting some coordinator that no one's heard about or someone from a small school. They need a big name to come to USC because it's Hollywood and they got a big name. And I was very surprised to see him go there. But with all the money they offer him, like Mel said, and the jet and everything, I mean, my goodness, this guy's like a Rockefeller out there right now. So I mean, you can't blame him for what he did, because who would turn that down? And you're going to California, Hollywood. He said he loves the challenge, and he's got a big challenge over there because USC Trojans have been irrelevant for quite some time now, and maybe they'll bring back the Reggie Bush years of the liner. That was fun. Those days were fun when they were just dominating and winning championships. And I hope he brings that back. We'll see what happens. He's been struggling in these big bowl games as well. But maybe a change of scenery and a whole lot of money and a big mansion, maybe. And he got good news when the guy followed him to the Trojans. So that's good as well. So we'll see what happens. I'm intrigued to see what Lincoln Riley does there. I don't know if he's going to do great or not. I don't know if he's going to be a bust or he's going to be another Pete Carroll up there, or I don't know. But I wish him the best success, and it's fantastic for California. And fortunately, I feel bad for Oklahoma, but I've heard rumors that Brett Venables of Clemson might be the new head coach there. I think that'd be a phenomenal hire for them. So if he does go there, and he's been rumored to be a hot coaching candidate for many years, that would be a home run for Oklahoma if they can land Brent Venables.
Well, I mean, we all know that the SEC is arguably the best conference in the country. The national championships speak for themselves. I don't think that Lincoln Riley was dodging it at all. I think he would have fared well in the SEC had Texas and Oklahoma been in there together. But the intrigue of going to USC, playing out west, with that fertile ground, to me, is really what does it. It really does. And, I'm going to say this because I mentioned it on social media, that Oklahoma and Texas are going to have to deal with what Nebraska did when they went to the Big Ten. And that being this: you go to these conferences and the competition's a lot harder. I don't think that they're going to replicate their success in the SEC. But meanwhile, I don't believe that that's the reason why Lincoln Riley went west, because Mel, you mentioned it, with all those perks he's going to get, he's looking pretty good. So I wish
they had to do something to lure him, right? He had a great job. I mean, he had a great job, one of the premier programs in the country, a lot of history there, a storied program. They had to do something to get his attention, and boy, they got his attention.
All right, Greg, what can I tell you? The action's out west.
I'll keep it brief. I think everyone's making the assumption that Lincoln Riley will be able to keep a lot of those California kids home and recruit them to USC. And that's probably a pretty good assumption. But, USC is not the most talented of programs. So it's going to take 2 or 3 recruiting classes to turn USC around. So hopefully all those Trojan fans don't think Riley's coming in with a magic wand and then they're going to win 10 games and make the college football playoffs next year. But excellent hire. And I think I would have accepted that offer if that Brinks truck shows up in my driveway.
All right, so you would have gone from Southern Florida to Southern California, right? Even with the state income tax and every other tax imaginable out there. Okay.
That kind of money, you can pay your taxes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, well, that is true, though. There is no state income tax. That's something to be considered.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Hodges, I know you're chomping at the bit to get a opinion in on this guy.
Yeah, well, I think it's great for the school. Hopefully this is, going to be, a little bit of a resurgence for them, as, was mentioned previous. Obviously they, haven't had many great years or great teams since, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush and Lindell White were there. Yeah, I mean, really, I don't know what more, the USC could have, thrown at Lincoln Riley, financially or, a perk of the job, where he would say no. But yeah, and hopefully, for Lincoln Riley's sake, they might kind of pull, what Clemson did with Dabo Sweeney. When Dabo first went there, they weren't, Clemson wasn't that great, but they gave him time. They gave him time to build the program, obviously build it into what it is, today. But and that's, it's kind of something, that's lost, among college and pro sports is, everybody, including the fans, athletic directors, board of trustees, that they want quick victories. And, hopefully, again, like as I just mentioned, they'll give him time, to, of course, get out there, get on the recruiting trail, as all the guys said previously, keep some of these, keep the California kids in state, and lure a lot of, talented kids from the West, maybe from the Mountain West, the Desert Southwest, my Pacific Northwest, and hopefully he can, lure them down there to Southern California. And, I'm very excited to see what, he's going to be able to do there. As I said, it's not going to happen overnight. Hopefully they'll give him, time, to build the program back up to what it was. And, USC fans have, every reason in the world to be excited about this guy.
Well, I like the way Greg and Dave says it won't happen overnight. So we're going to have a little bit of a lighthearted moment. Okay. If he doesn't get to a major bowl right away, I was going through a lot of the names of the bowl games. And one of the ones that really caught my attention the most happened to be the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl, which will take place on Saturday, December 18th at 7:30 p.m. Now, we know the Trojans aren't going there, but it'll be played at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. The conference ties in, or the Mountain West and the Pac-12. But let's forget about the bowl game itself. Okay, so David, what are your thoughts about the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl?
The Jimmy Kimmel Bowl. Wow. Never thought I'd hear a bowl game with a talk show host's name on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good for Jimmy Kimmel, I guess. I know, some of the, late night talk show greats, from, many years, years back, they're probably, or some that might be no longer with us, or like, what? Or, I guess what, as the saying would go, might be spinning in their grave right now. Good for Jimmy Kimmel. We'll see, what the game entails. And, I might just have to tune into that one. Seems like, there's, every bowl game you can imagine, going on now. So really all you have to do is just play on a college team. And at some point, if it's, Division I team, you're probably going to go to some bowl, whether it be, do they even still have the Poinsettia Bowl? I know, I know there's, there's, many bowls from, the bygone years, but, of course, that's obviously something for the players' families, for the fans. But I might actually have to tune into that one.
Well, all I'll say about the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, the only reason I brought it up there is that right when you think you've seen everything, you have a celebrity with his name on it, Jimmy Kimmel Bowl. All right, Mr. Southern California, Rick Curti. All right, give me your thoughts on the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl.
I mean, should we be surprised? I mean, there's so many bowls there. I'm ready for the Viagra Bowl and the Trojan Condom Prophylactic Bowl to show up pretty soon, or the Del Monte Fruit Bowl, or the Mr. Clean Toilet Bowl coming very soon. So I mean, it is what it is. Hey, good for Jimmy Kimmel, got his own bowl. If I had the money he did, then I have the Charlotte Bats Bowl. So I mean, kudos to him. I mean, why not? There's so many bowls. I remember when they had the Hooters Bowl. I don't know if that's still around. So many bowl games, I lost track of them. But yeah, sure, why not? Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, and so good for him.
Right, Greg, being a Southern Florida guy, okay, I don't know if you've ever been to LA, but tell me your thoughts about the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, and would there be a celebrity in South Florida that you could ever see getting a bowl game and named after them?
I guess in South Florida, you could have the Dwayne Johnson Rock Bowl as an ex-Hurricane. I actually used to live in LA for a couple of seasons. With the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, it makes me wonder how much the naming rights cost. I know Jimmy gets paid awful well for doing what he does. But usually when somebody gets the naming rights, they got a product or service to sell. So I guess Jimmy just has a little ego to feed there to get his name on the bowl.
Hey, Mel?
Yeah, it sounds like one of those bowl games where it's actually going to cost you money to go to the bowl. The schools might turn it down because they can't afford to go to the bowl game because it's actually going to cost the athletic department money. But I mean, bowl games are good for one reason. You get some extra practice for the young guys before spring practice. Get to develop players a little bit more. I do think there's oversaturation of bowl games now. Getting the 6 wins makes you bowl eligible. Doesn't necessarily make you bowl worthy, or where people are going to watch you. But I mean, obviously most of these games, if not all of them, are televised, so there is a little fandom around college football. There will be at least the family members and friends watching a lot of these games. And the most important thing is you get a couple extra weeks of practice to get your guys ready, the underclassmen ready for the spring and for the following year. So guys get some more reps. And, that's really the key with bowl games, getting to a bowl game, that you have, not only do you get the perks of going, to get the swag of going to a bowl game, all the swag material that you get from going to the bowl game, but you also get the additional preparation time, which is going to help you the following year.
So, all right. So you have any jokes you want to mention about the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl?
I got nothing for you.
Oh, okay, but I will elaborate on your thought. I'm glad you brought this up, Mel, because when Candy Ebling and I were covering the FAU Middle Tennessee game, and FAU did not become bowl eligible, Florida Atlantic University coach Willie Taggart mentioned the exact same thing that you did. While he was hoping that their bowl streak would be alive, he cited the extra practices as well as, the film that they could. And one only thing I like about the bowls, it's another chance for these prospects to get scouted by another team. The more film you put up, obviously, the better. But yeah, but Willie Taggart mentioned that too. You know what? More practice time, more game time, more reps, and that's the only thing I care about it. But yeah, I think when I heard about the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, you've heard one thing, you've heard it all. No, I do want to mention something about the running backs before we go to one more college note, then we'll wrap our show up with 2 more pro games. Hassan and Haskins obviously had 5 touchdowns, and Leonard Fournette had 4, albeit 3 were via running and 1 passing, but 9 touchdowns between these 2 guys. So running backs were not extinct in the past week. With that said, okay, well, we're going to go to the Tampa Bay Bucks beating the Indianapolis Colts. Leonard Fournette had 4 touchdowns, 3 rushes, and 1 reception. And he was able to had a pretty good game in his own right. And of course, 17 rushes for 100 yards, 7 receptions for 31 yards. So Leonard Fournette is a ticket for the Buccaneers to go ahead and do what they've got to do. And they look pretty good in their win over Indianapolis, 38-31. So Mel, what are your thoughts about what took place in that contest?
I mean, I think that Tampa beat Indianapolis at their own game, running the football. I mean, Leonard Fournette was a number 3 or number 4 overall pick, and it's for a reason. I mean, he ran like a man possessed this weekend. And when he's able to do that, that just makes everything easier for Tom Brady. That opens up the play action game and opens up everything when he runs the football that way. And, obviously we know what kind of defense Tampa has as well. They're very difficult to run against, and they get after the passer. So, it doesn't surprise me what Leonard Fournette is doing. He's a talented back, extremely talented. He's big, he's fast, he's physical. Some of those runs were unbelievable runs, only runs that probably only he can make. And so I'm happy for him. He has a renewed purpose now. He got out of Jacksonville, that situation. At one time it was a pretty good situation. Then, for a little while, this wasn't a good situation for him. And he's gotten somewhere, and he's gotten some leadership. He's somewhere where there's a real leader showing him how to be a pro. And that's Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. They're teaching him how to be a professional. And then Bruce Arians, because he's gonna get on you. He's gonna let you know when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I think it's the ideal situation for him. Gives him an opportunity to flourish in that system and show what everybody thought he could do in the NFL with the talent that he possesses.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Rick?
Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers right now are showing why they won the Super Bowl. They look great. They're often a better start than they were last season. Last season, they were slow start. They made a wild card, and then they won the Super Bowl. They're off to a better start this year than they were last year. Brady looks great. It's hard to believe he's 44. He looks great. They brought everybody back. They haven't skipped a beat. Yeah, they struggled a couple times. That's normal, but they played really good against the Colts. And Colts have been playing pretty good too as well when they got off to that slow start. So, kudos to them. But it was a shootout game. But I think Tampa Bay's kind of shown people why they're the Super Bowl champions, why Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. And wouldn't be surprised to see Tampa Bay back in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't be surprised if they won everything again. So they just look great right now, and we'll see what happens later on in the season.
Yeah, I had a chance to see Fournette play when he played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Really impressed with them, and more importantly, excuse me, coming out of LSU, he was very heralded. So a change of scenery did him a lot of good. But I'm happy for Jonathan Taylor, though, that he's been able to establish himself with the Indianapolis Colts. They got a stud there. So with that said, Greg, what are your thoughts about the Tampa Bay Indy contest?
Yeah, well, first of all, in regards to Fournette, when the Jaguars cut him loose last year, I was really hoping he'd sign with the Dolphins, but Fournette obviously made the right decision there, signing with the Bucks. Tampa, even though they haven't played all that great so far this season, they've lost 3 games, struggled to beat the Colts, even though I think the Colts turned the ball over, was it 5 times? Until proven otherwise, the Bucks are still my favorite to go to the Super Bowl and win it. I mean, Brady and Gronk and all that defense. And you remember last year, Tampa's Bay defense wasn't that great the first half of the season, and they turned it on in the second half of the season. I'm guessing that may happen again. So I am on the Bucks bandwagon in terms of making it to the Super Bowl.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. Tampa Bay is just the gold standard right now, in the National Football League. And, as long as Brady's still down there and, still taking snaps, they're going to have, so many marquee names, just, trying to pound down the door, to get contracts and, to play there. And, they're going to have, the NFC South locked up, obviously, with Breeze retiring from New Orleans and, Matt Ryan, his, career on the decline there in Atlanta. Tampa Bay, I mean, some teams might, kind of pop up one day and, smack them in the mouth and, might be able to, walk out with a win or wherever they may be. But, Tampa Bay, they're clicking on all cylinders, and I really don't see anyone stopping them.
All right, well, we're going to go from Don Brady's current team to his old team. How do you not look at what the New England Patriots did to the Tennessee Titans? 36-13, 6 straight win. Mac Jones throws for 2 touchdowns, 23 of 32, 310 yards. And for that matter, the defense forces 4 turnovers. New England and Tennessee are both resigning at 8-4. The Patriots are looking awfully good, aren't they, Dave Hodges?
Oh yeah. Mac Jones, he's finding his stride, and but when you got a head coach like Bill Belichick, you can't play the game of football, if you can't learn from him. It's definitely good to see. Obviously, he's got such a pedigree, from Alabama, so he's playing for the 2 best coaches that are out there today. Obviously, he played for Nick Saban at Alabama, and then now he's with Belichick up there in New England. So you might want to they say the future's so bright you got to wear shades. New England fans might have to put on a welder's mask, when being faced with the future of Mac Jones. He's definitely. I think he's going to be the quarterback to watch, not just for New England, but for the league, for many years to come. And it's obviously no one can ever fill the shoes of Tom Brady up there, but I definitely think Patriot fans have a lot to look forward to with Mac Jones.
Well, Greg, you've seen a lot of the Patriots through the years being in Southern Florida. What's your take on this Patriots team as they continue to pile up the wins?
Yeah, I'll have a better take on how good the Patriots are after they play the Bills this week. I mean, they took care of the Titans, but the players were wearing Titans uniforms, but that wasn't the Titans roster that's won 8 games this year. I mean, no Derrick Henry, no A.J. Brown, no Julio Jones. And without those guys, who showed up? The Miami Dolphins version of Ryan Tannehill. So Patriots have not beat a whole lot of good teams this year, and they're one of the few teams that have lost to the Dolphins. So I want to see what they do against the next 3 weeks when they get the Bills twice and the Colts. That'll tell you a lot about the Pats.
Fair enough. We'll revisit that in a few weeks. All right, Rick.
Well, I thought that when Brady was gone, it was bye-bye dynasty and big rebuild happening, and all the Patriot fans or so-called Patriot fans are going to be now Tampa Bay fans or Kansas City Chiefs fans. And no such thing as a rebuild. They got a quarterback that looks like he's going to be there for the next, 15, maybe 20 years. Mac Jones right now is running away with the Rookie of the Year for offensive player. They look great. They got off to a slow start, but once he got his feet wet and everything, and they got bought into the system, they're looking great. I agree with Greg. I think they haven't been playing the toughest teams. Their schedule has been a little soft, so I love to see what they do against the Bills. Those. I have, Bills to me were like a Super Bowl contender, and they've just been so erratic. So I don't know what to expect from them. But for the Patriots, they look solid right now. Mac Jones looks great, and well, it's going to be an intriguing game. It's going to be a fun game, and we'll see what happens with that.
All right, Mel.
There was a Julio Jones signing. I mean, that's kind of like Bigfoot. He's kind of a myth, a mystical figure. I mean, Julio Jones hasn't been there all year. You talk about there's no Julio Jones last week. He hasn't, he's played a few snaps all season long. They had a real nice feature on Mac Jones and his high school coach over the weekend. I don't know if any of you guys saw it, and they kind of talked about him and how his coach kind of pushed him, treated everybody the same, and how Mac Jones could take it. Mac Jones is a smart kid. He's a 4.0 student. So Bill Belichick got the right guy. I mean, he knew what he was looking for and was just praying that this guy would fall to him. Again, we talked about it. Mac Jones, very talented player, fell to the right team and is in the perfect situation for himself. I mean, he couldn't ask for a better situation. All they needed was a quarterback there, somebody like Tom Brady, and they have somebody like him. If he just continues to improve and continues to work, we know he grasps the offense because he's an extremely intelligent player, and he'll continue to make the right plays and get rid of the ball quickly, because that's one of the things that he was taught when he was in high school. His high school coach would always tell him, "Hey, get rid of the ball quickly." So you hold on to that thing too long, it's going to hatch. And so he learned to get rid of the ball quickly, and that's what he does. He's a great distributor of the football. Doesn't have to do anything fancy. Just continue to distribute the football, make sure they put weapons around him. And, New England's going to be fine. They're going to be fine for the next, however. I mean, you got to give the kid a lot of credit. Yeah, you can give Bill Belichick a lot of credit for identifying the talent, his talent, but you got to give the kid a lot of credit for being able to do the things that Josh McDaniels is asking him to do, and also that Bill Belichick is asking him to do. I mean, I think over the last 3 weeks, I think he has an 80% completion percentage. I mean, that's just unheard of.
Well, I'll say this in closing this particular subject. Number one, Mac Jones will be the best quarterback in this class 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I think that not only will he have sustained success, but the situation that he's in. And you're right, he's a heck of a player. The jury's still out on the other four. Don't get into that tonight. But Mac Jones indeed will be the cream of this quarterback class.
Other four in dumpster fires. Jets,
yeah.
Jacksonville, Chicago. I mean, those three guys, man, bless their hearts.
Yeah.
Bless their hearts.
And the 49ers, I don't know. I still think that Mac Jones will be the cream of the QB class 5-10 years from now.
He was a proven commodity. I mean, Justin Fields, he also played well, and he was a proven commodity as well. Trevor Lawrence, he played well, but he's just in a bad situation. He's just in the worst situation probably out of all of them.
Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about tonight is Mel Tucker was rumored to go to LSU. Michigan State gave him 10 years, $95 million to wear the green and the white. But that didn't stop Brian Kelly from leaving Notre Dame to take the same amount of money, 10 years, $95 million with incentives. He goes from an independent, play whoever you want, to a conference. Now, before I give you guys the floor on this, we all know that Notre Dame refuses to play in a conference. They've got their own TV money. I get it. I still think that Notre Dame would be better served if they were in a conference. I wish there was a way that they can keep their revenue, but they shouldn't get a piece of the pie for the other remaining conferences. I think that with Notre Dame not being in a conference, it's a liability. So with that said, okay, Dave, what are your thoughts about Brian Kelly eating crawfish in a very talented area called Louisiana?
Well, definitely gutted, as a Notre Dame fan, obviously, you hate to see him, the winningest, I believe that's, I saw that he was, the winningest coach in school history. Yeah, it's definitely, it's tough. I mean, obviously, he's going to one of the premier programs, in the SEC, and I'm going to be, I'm definitely keeping an eye on South Bend, to see who, they're going to tap to be his successor. But he's definitely got his work cut out for him. Obviously, when it comes to college football, he has just entered the Lions' den. He's got to face the Georgias, the Alabamas, as we talked about earlier. On the Lincoln Riley subject. But yeah, it's definitely going to be, I personally believe him going to LSU, this will define his career, to see, how he can do, again, in the premier conference in college football. But yeah, as Notre Dame fan, you're gutted, obviously, in any school would be, when you got, a beloved coach, and, you're happy with what you got. And, it was mentioned with Lincoln Riley, he goes to USC, he had a top commit go with him, so, you could be excited for the upcoming, recruiting class. But, when a coach goes, so can a lot of players. So, I'm definitely interested to see where he's going. Again, hate that he's left Notre Dame, but yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching, how he does down there in the Bayou.
Well, he gets a 10-year contract. Les Miles got run out of town after a while. We know Ed Orgeron didn't last very long after a national championship. If LSU keeps running national championship coaches out the door, we'll wonder how tough that next search is going to be, even though he's got 10 years there, and he's going to get a lot of money to make that move. So, Greg, what are your thoughts about this move?
I heard someone on ESPN today, and I forgot who it was, saying one of the biggest challenges a coach in Notre Dame has is Notre Dame has higher academic requirements, and it prevents them from getting some of the elite players that other schools do. And that's why one of the driving considerations why Kelly went to the SEC and LSU. So it makes sense to me. But we're on the topic of college coaches. When is the University of Miami going to get off their you-know-what and make a decision on Manny Diaz? Either say he's coming back or fire him. Because you're in the middle of recruiting season, and they can't recruit because he's in limbo. And maybe if you could get someone like Lane Kiffin, who a lot of college kids know runs a great offense, and I think would be a great fit for Tyler Van Dyke, because the Canes, they lost Rhett Lashley, their offensive coordinator, to SMU. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, and Miami just seems to be stuck in limbo and indecision. As a Canes fan, it's driving me nuts.
All right. So with that said, I'm going to ask you this question, Greg. How much time do you give Brian Kelly with LSU?
LSU fans aren't going to be that patient, but I think you get at least 3 years. You got to get your own recruits in there and put your imprint on the program. LSU, since Joe Burrow left a couple of years ago, hasn't been that strong the last couple of years. They haven't been terrible, but they're not competing for national championships the last 2 years.
That's fair enough. Okay, Rick.
Well, I was very surprised for the Lincoln Riley. I really thought it was going to LSU. He didn't lie about that. And here comes Brian Kelly with "Hold My Beer," and that's what that was. I was completely shocked by this. I was very surprised. I remember him saying that that Notre Dame was his dream job. He's an Irish Catholic guy. Great fit for him. He did very well there, just like he did in Cincinnati. He hadn't made it in Notre Dame, and now he's really going to be tested. We're really going to see how great of a coach he is. And he's not going to be playing Navy and Army anymore. He's going to be playing the Alabamas, the Georgias, and all that stuff. So honestly, I give him 3 years. I think they're just gonna, LSU's tough. The SEC's tough. There's no waiting or anything like that. They want results immediately. They'll give him some time. But if he don't do anything in 3 years, he's gone. Because we already know that these 10-year contracts don't mean anything. They're nothing. So I give him 3 years. I just like I said, you give a guy all this money and he's never won a championship and he struggled in the playoffs. So that's my concern with that. And he's in a tough SEC where he was an independent football team where they could play anybody who they want, choose who they want. So those days of Navy and Army and all that are gone. Hello, Georgia. Hello, Alabama. Good luck to you, Brian Kelly.
Okay, Mel.
I think Brian Kelly is a good coach, and he's a great recruiter. And I've looked at his strategy and what he does, and as far as recruiting is concerned, he has to recruit nationwide there in Notre Dame. And what he does is he gets the best players that go to these private schools or the Catholic schools. He gets the best players from those schools, and they go to Notre Dame. That's who he offers his scholarships to, because those guys have the academic aptitude to get into Notre Dame. So I think what he wants to do, I think Brian Kelly wants to have an opportunity to play Alabama and Georgia on a level playing field. The playing field's always been tilted towards Alabama and Georgia because he hasn't had the same kind of players. He hasn't had the same kind of horses. He wants to be able to play. He wants to be able to match wits for wits and see if he can win having the same kind of horses out there. And in Louisiana, at LSU, he'll be able to get the same kind of horses. He doesn't have to go very far to recruit. He can recruit Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Texas. He doesn't have to go very far. Florida, he can go to Florida. He doesn't have to go very far. He can get all the kids that he needs to see if he can compete with the Nick Sabans and the Dabo Sweeneys of the world. Yeah, he's done a heck of a job at Notre Dame. And I think what he wanted to do, he's had to coach very hard. He's had to work very hard to stay competitive and to stay relevant at Notre Dame. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, nobody thinks about leaving Notre Dame for another job. You either retire from Notre Dame or you get fired from Notre Dame. That's what happens. You retire, do TV for a little while, and maybe go get you another job like Lou Holtz did at South Carolina. But nobody ever leaves Notre Dame. Notre Dame was the job to get. Nobody ever leaves Notre Dame for another job. And that's what he did. He's the first coach ever to do that. So that has to tell you something. He's been there 12 years. I guarantee you it's been a hard 12 years because there's high expectations at Notre Dame. And to be honest with you, he's lived up to the expectations. They've gone to a championship game. I think he's been in the college playoffs 3 times total, including the championship game that he went to. And they were nowhere, they weren't close. The games weren't close. Now he has an opportunity to get the same kind of players that Alabama has, Georgia has, Clemson has, USC is going to get here eventually, Ohio State, and see what he can do.
Yeah, I think the only difference between the Notre Dame job versus LSU is obviously we all know that Notre Dame's known for their academics, and LSU obviously will be looking for better athletes. I think he certainly has good ground there as well. So I'm glad we were able to bring that up. But that said, okay, as we wrap up the show, David, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Dave Davino Hodges, Davino. For those that don't know, I'm a diehard soccer fan, always been a fan of the Brazilian teams. And since all these, great soccer players that have come out of Brazil, their names either end in O or HO, I kind of gave myself a Brazilian soccer name. Again, Dave Davino Hodges on Facebook, and I'm also on Twitter at Dave Talks Sports.
Yeah, before we go any further, I do want to mention one thing while it's fresh in my mind. I personally think that he'll be good for at least 5 or 6 years because of the fact that it is a pressure cooker down there. Wanted to get that in, but he could do a pretty good job. All right, Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, you can catch me on www.southfloridatribune.com. I write about mostly the Dolphins and football. And you also can get me on Twitter at G Fuchs and Gregory Fuchs.
Okay, Rick.
You can catch me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and also on Charlotte Bats. I'm on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti. I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, CLTBATS. And I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats, CLTBATS. And you can email me at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, mine's easy. All the social media at my name, at Mel Farr Jr. That's Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, at Mel Farr Jr. Find out what we're doing down here in Atlanta and also up in Michigan, or for the young people at melfarr.org. And my email is melfarjr@gmail.com.
All right, and finally us. If you want to go to our website, www.southfloridatribune gets it done. That's www.southfloridatribune.com. You'll be able to see all of our broadcasts, all our media distribution partners and columnists and so forth. Want to find us on Twitter, go for it at Tribune South. You know, you can also subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. And by doing so, you'll see all the videos that we have from all the different shows that we offer, from like 108 Stitches, Baseball Talk, No Limits, South Florida Tribune Podcast, and of course, the Sports Exchange. And you can find these broadcasts here on iHeartRadio. You can find them on Apple, Google, Spreaker, you name it, or wherever you get your podcast. So whether you're listening in your car or whether you're watching, feel free to go out there and contact us. And of course, you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. So we're heavily represented on social media. And I like to view the audio sites as like a marketplace wherever you get your podcasts. We're out there, and we certainly encourage your feedback. Go to our website, and you'll also be able to find a lot of great photos that Candy Ebling does a wonderful job. So our email, once again, if you have any thing you want to tell Mel and the rest of the guys, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. So we're all over the place. So guys, you did a great job. I'll just say, folks, please be out there and be very careful with COVID-19. There's a variant out there, and COVID-19 is not going away. I don't care what anybody says for a long time. So on behalf of my outstanding crew, David Hodges, Greg Fuchs, Rick Curti, Mel Farr Jr., my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Mad Mouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. And until the next time, take care, everybody, and be well. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Good night.